Smash-O coming at you here from the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. Just bringing you the most detailed imagery you'll find anywhere in the sun, plus the most comprehensive space weather known to mankind. Now, the sun's been getting a bad rap. A lot of people on YouTube are telling people that the source of all life and energy on the planet is very dangerous and that it's going to kill us soon. This could not be farther from the truth. Although we do see lots of interesting activity here in the northwestern limb. Huge crown prominence is up here hanging out. There's the Stella Lescher filament still hanging out up there in the northeast. Lots of filaments. And if you want to name them after living people, please do so on our Twitter feed, twitter.com/SmashOmash. All over the internet, at SmashOmash for that matter. Here is your southwestern limb. We've got some sunspot growth since yesterday, so that's always exciting to cover. We should see a little uptick in the radio flux here in the coming 24 hours. Here's the Hulk Hogan filament, this one right here. It's named after the Hulkster. We've got more filaments rising, a little bit of a CME activity from this area here, and some flaring as plasma splashes back down onto the chromosphere. The most exciting activity has come from the northeastern limb. See some significant high-speed CMEs there exiting the solar corona. Right over here, kind of on the far side of the sun. We'll let you know if there are any Earth-directed coronal mass ejections later in the video. Let's take a look at the full disk view here in these same wavelengths. That's 304 plus 193 angstroms from SDO. That's 24 hours of data. The typical amount that we show on the daily space weather videos. Next, looking at our colorized magnetogram. That's yesterday plus today. And again, we do have new sunspots. Let's take a look at the intensity gram real quick. Somehow I must have shut that down. Let's bring that back. So we've got a new sunspot here in the north. Right up here. Also another new sunspot down here in the south. Also, we've got some umbral growth on these groups. This group has also grown in size. This sunspot here has evaporated. So we should see a little uptick in the sunspot number. Let's take a look at what's going on croissant Earth. So here's what's going on the croissant-shaped planet Earth. I know many people are telling you it's shaped like an oblate spheroid, or perhaps that it's a flat disk. In any case, Shivaluch is exploding, producing a 15,000-foot ash plume over the Kamchatka Peninsula. It's a flight level 130 over Kerinci, the Isle of Sumatra. 13,000-foot ash plume from Kerinci. Popocatépetl exploding in central Mexico. 20,000-foot ash plume there. It's a flight level 200, flight level 150 over Guatemala from Fuego, flight level 200 over Sangay. In Ecuador, also Revenador exploding in that same nation. 15,000-foot ash plume from Revenador, 23,000-foot ash plume from Sabancaya. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Next, looking at seismic activity. A little uptick since yesterday. No major quakes. There's your 90-day bar graph. And we'll scroll up the list here. Keep in mind, folks, any earthquake can be a foreshock. And we do have an uptick here around the Pacific Rim. So, first of all, we'll report the earthquakes over a 5 magnitude. There was a 5.1 in Vanuatu. That was at 1754 yesterday evening. Yesterday late afternoon. Here is a 5.0 at New Zealand. Looks like it's on the North Island there. That was at 23:14 Universal Time. Also, Tonga had a 5.2. This morning at 5:09 Universal Time. Largest quake of the past 24 hours was just about an hour ago here at Papua New Guinea. It was a 5.7. And once again, remember, folks, any earthquake can be a foreshock. And before we get back to space, if you want to support the channel with some merch purchasing, now's a great time to do it. Save 20% site-wide if you click the Redbubble link below the video, or on our homepage at smashomash.com. You'll find our merch items. Our designs are listed here in order of best selling. Again, save 20% site-wide on all products. And congratulations on surviving a global scamdemic so far. Today's featured product is Do Not Pole Vault the Caldera. Because, well, our finest days lie ahead. If you're hoping for civilization to end, sorry about that. It's just not happening. If you're sick of the U.S. being the world's economic powerhouse, well, sorry about that. That's not ending either. Remember, folks, other fiat currency is simply worse than the U.S. dollar. So, yeah, good luck finding refuge in the euro or the yen or the yuan. Those are all worse currencies with higher inflation. If you're going through hell, keep going. And if you're going on a volcanic vacation, leave your vault pole at home. Do not pole vault the caldera. Do support the channel with maybe some products. Go out and advertise us in public, since apparently YouTube is not into it. They play ads on our videos and then don't recommend them to anybody, despite it being the most comprehensive space weather in the known universe. We're also on Patreon if you want to support us that way. We do have 3 membership levels there. On Patreon, the best way to support us is by becoming a member of the Smash Team. So smashomash.com/Smash Team is our own subscription services site. We've got our own financial setup, and we replaced Patreon with a superior site, our own. So that's the reason for that, not because there's anything wrong with Patreon. It wasn't because of pathetic censorship like on Facebook, Google sites, Twitter, etc. It wasn't because of that. It was just because we needed further capabilities, and we now have them at smashomash.com/Smash Team. There's a gold, a silver, a bronze, and a gold annual paid-up subscription level. Click posts. Sign up for email alerts. We'll send you email alerts about our major video releases as well as about disasters at smashomash.com/Smash Team. And welcome back to space. Now we're looking at 1700 angstroms plus 193. 193 angstroms is great at showing the extended corona. You can see all of those plasma filaments out here at around active regions, etc. Here's a weird wavelength, 4500 angstroms plus 335. We don't always show it. The 335 adds a little bit of detail to it there. Here's 171 angstroms by itself, our house favorite wavelength. By the way, this video was originally streamed to twitch.tv/smashomash. They get set to unpublished after they stream live, so if you don't catch them live, you'll have to view them in syndication on either YouTube or BitChute. If you're viewing on BitChute, make sure you view the content on YouTube. You're missing most of it by not being a YouTube subscriber. 10.7 centimeter radio flux, now at 135 solar flux units. So that radio signal comes out of the upper chromosphere and lower corona, like this area right here. And it is the most proportional piece of data to sunspot number. So there's the 1-year chart to put that in context. Again, we can expect a mild uptick here in the radio flux today, maybe pushing back up toward 140 solar flux units as we, again, have seen some sunspot growth in the earthly-facing portion of the solar disk. Also, keep in mind there are lots of active regions on the far side of the sun that will be rising here in just a few short days. Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard not forecasting any geomagnetic storms or geomagnetic unrest. We do have a very well-defined trans-equatorial coronal hole rotating in, which we'll get to here in a moment. That's a Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard, if you're wondering. KP Index, a measurement of global geomagnetism, is currently at 0.67. It's a KP 0.67, less than 1, more than 0. It's geomagnetically calm conditions. Here are the past 4 hours, modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework of Earth's magnetic moment from space. The units modeled here are nanopascals, magnetohydrodynamic pressure, I should say. So that's the last 4 hours of Earth's geomagnetically calm conditions here. Here are our ground magnetic perturbations. The units modeled here are nanotesla, magnetic flux density. It's geospace delta B. That's changes to Earth's B field. It'll show you the most likely places for viewing the aurorae, power line, pipeline, and railway induction, etc. Ground magnetic perturbations. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind here, we saw some likely minor coronal mass ejection impacts at Lagrangian point 1, the location of the ACE and Discover spacecraft. So here you can see these little minor upticks happening here, the solar wind velocity going from all the way down at 300 kilometers per second up to 442 kilometers per second for a brief period of time, and then rapidly subsiding. So a little bit of diffuse plasma there showing up at higher speed. You can also see this change in the plasma temperature, this bottom pane here. That is an indication that the data is legit. Current conditions are about 320 kilometers per second for the solar wind velocity. Solar wind density quite diffuse here at only 2.24 protons per cubic centimeter. When we do see a coronal hole high-speed stream, it should be quite a significant signal. Next, GOES magnetometers here pretty smooth over the past 3 days. Those are the readings from the GOES 16 and GOES 18 at their geosynchronous orbits. And next we'll look at the heliospheric current sheet and its polarity. Yes. So there's a North Pole current sheet out there, and at the moment, it's still holding off. It hasn't made it to stereo A yet. And if you're wondering where this data comes from, it's from 51 ground-based magnetometers, a magnetometer on stereo B, and a magnetometer on stereo A. The top view ecliptic plane field plot is one of the best predictive data sets that we have. Our regular viewers are well aware that I've forecasted all kinds of things as a result of knowing how to read that data. Next, looking at our line of sight plot here, the sun's B field depicted in blue, and we are still in the South Pole. So, yeah, you're in the south heliospheric pole at the moment because most of the sun's South Pole magnetism is directed at the planet Earth. Again, there you can see the top view ecliptic plane field plot. South Pole here on this side of the sun, North Pole on the opposite side. And let's take a look at coronal holes. We have quite a well-defined coronal hole here just rotating through. We're going to show you the past 24 hours of activity in SDO 211 angstroms. So this is all South Pole magnetism here. The South Pole coronal hole here. This is south. This little spot down here, this area right here. Wait a minute. Yeah, right in here. This is actually a North Pole-oriented coronal hole right here. So that's the last 24 hours SDO 211 angstroms wavelength. Well-defined coronal hole. You can expect a high-speed wind to show up there in about 3 days. So sometime on the 8th, like early in the day on the 8th, early to midday, we can expect to see a high-density solar wind uptick. That's the leading edge of the coronal hole high-speed stream, an uptick in the solar wind density. Next, sunspots. And yeah, we've got at least one new group that needs a name. It's up here. That'll be 3211, 3211. And I think that's it, but that'll be a new name group there, Sunspot 3211. Let's take a look at some more imagery here. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here. So yeah, minor uptick since yesterday in terms of sunspots and likely in terms of radio flux. Let's lose the 171 angstroms. Quite a lot of sunspots in the southern hemisphere and a decent number in the northern hemisphere as well. So solar uptick continues. And again, remember, folks, there are lots of active regions likely on the opposite side of the sun. So the magnetic environment can change with absolutely no warning. And you can see it happening there, sunspots spontaneously forming. Next, we'll look at energetic particles and solar flares. Now, don't get them confused, folks. Coronal mass ejections and solar flares are not the same thing. One is not required for the other one. Solar flares are often accompanied by relativistic particles, which will show up in the GOES proton flux. We did see a minor uptick here a couple of days ago, but barely anything even showing up as a signal. GOES proton flux here remaining flatlined. We did see a long-duration C-class flare here happen at about 0 dark 50 this morning on February 4th. Since then, only some minor C-class intensifications have happened. And it's maybe creeping back up here to a C-class background X-ray flux. At the moment here, it's more like about an 8.6, a B8.6 background X-ray flux. Let's take a look at some more imagery here. Here's 94 plus 171 angstroms from SDO, the past 24 hours. Let's get rid of the 171 angstroms and just show 94. And of course, some of the flaring came from this sunspot right here. Let's switch to 171 angstroms. 131 angstroms. And let's take a step back and think about the greater solar system, solar flares, filaments, and more. So here's what's going on overhead in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. The sun not too many degrees off the horizon there, in the constellation of Capricorn. That's our star chart from skyandtelescope.org. I really like it. Let us know in the comments what you think of our new star chart. And here's your solar system forecast. It looks like we're about 2 days out from a full moon. We'll advance this 1 week. We've got a gibbous waxing. There's where things will be on the 11th. We will have a gibbous waning. By then, Earth is on a lonely portion of the solar system here. No gas giants on this side of the solar system. Next, looking at coronal mass ejections, and indeed some interesting looking ones there from stereo A. Now keep in mind, Earth would be off on this line from the perspective of stereo A. So what you have to ask yourself is that CME headed toward the Earth or not? We'll get to it in our additional imagery here from stereo A and Soho Lasco C3 at Lagrange 1. Now we've paused it at 1606 and 1609 for stereo A because you can see this filament. So this is a very distinctive filament here. So there's that filament, and that is off to the west. So there's no halo associated with that, although there were 2 different CMEs happening at almost the same time there, I believe. But we don't see any indication that any ejecta is headed toward Earth. So it's just mainly looking like a little bit of a fireworks display there. We are expecting that CME to miss to the west. So that's the latest from stereo A and Soho Lasco C3. And keep in mind the likelihood of additional coronal mass ejections is nearly 100%. So here's the past 24 hours, and you'll notice that CME that is sort of on the Earth line in terms of north and south will be missing off to the west most likely here. No indication of a halo there. We'll zoom out a little bit to show a little additional data. And you can see some relativistic particles striking the spacecraft there. That is from that long-duration C-class flare. And we'll zoom out a little farther here to show most of the extent of the Soho Lasco C3 scope. So lots of CMEs happening in the past 24 hours, and expect more. And here's why. So once again, we don't need to see we don't even need to see sunspots to see coronal mass ejections happen. And we certainly don't need to see flares. We're covering the sun at the solar minimum in 2019, and indeed, we covered plenty of coronal mass ejections with no associated flare or sunspot. So we got lots of filaments here, especially in the southern hemisphere. Check out these filaments trailing the Hulk Hogan. These need names. This prominence down here and this one here need a name. Also, this one up here could use a name. Stella Lesher filament up there is still chilling. So let's bring up the latest image here and ask once again for you, the viewer, to join us over on Twitter and name that filament. You got to name the filaments on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter account, create one. Why not? No censorship is not fixed. However, you'll see information that you'll only see on the Twitter feed by joining us on Twitter. Now, we have pinned our free samples link to the Hemp Lucid shop. If you haven't seen that, check the links below the description to the Hemp Lucid shop. And if you want to see that link to the free samples of mushroom gummies, head to the Twitter feed, scroll down, you'll find that pinned tweet. Get your free mushroom gummies. Have I mentioned that they're free? You'll also save money by using our link to shop at the Hemp Lucid shop. You can find all kinds of different solutions to problems, whether it's stress, focus, or sleep. And thanks to everybody who's picked up products. We are looking to do an additional product review soon on the Hemp Lucid products. Shout out to Hemp Lucid. Possibly our best sponsor/affiliate ever. So most of all, of course, thanks to you, our clients who view the content, because really the videos are all about you at this point. And headed back to space here, here's the past 24 hours in ionized helium alone, 304 angstroms. We'll also show the past about 2.5 hours from the GOES 18 SUVI. This is what we typically stream to the Twitch channel throughout the day so that we can always get any great imagery from the great wide field of view. It's now the GOES 16. I thought it was the GOES 18. What's up with that? Let me just check on that. That's weird. I thought it was the GOES 18 SUVI. Well, apparently it's the GOES 16 at the moment. Not sure what's up with that, but that's the past about 2.5 hours. Again, expect to see additional coronal mass ejections, and don't get them confused with solar flares. They aren't the same thing at all. Solar flares are photons in the form of X-ray frequency photons, and coronal mass ejections are protons. Gas. Yeah, gas. It's like the difference between light and wind, folks. Very different. Solar flares are photons. Coronal mass ejections are protons. And this brings us to our bonus features segment. Yes. The sun's still not going to kill you, and charging is still not going to kill satellites because we don't have any charging here. That's our satellites community dashboard view of charging hazards. We don't have any. Electron flux here kind of low. Surprisingly low, actually. At least surprising to me. That's the past 3 days. Here's the last week. We got into a more normal range there, and then it dipped right back down to a very low electron flux. Now that's measured at the F layer of the ionosphere. There's the forecast model. And interestingly, NOAA expecting a continued dip here in the electron flux. Not sure why, but no argument there. We can definitely expect to see by about 3 days from now a significant dip. I would definitely agree with that portion of the forecast. In the meantime, it's anybody's guess, as we don't have sufficient inputs to make a forecast for the electron flux. There's the 1-year chart to put it in context. You can see very low levels of electron flux here. And let's take a look at the layer of the ionosphere where the electron flux is measured using radiography from those geosynchronous satellites. They're like 20,000 miles above this area, and they're using radiography to measure the electron flux way down here at the F layer. So that's the reasoning. That's why we show the F layer of the ionosphere daily. Also because it's the bridge between Earth and space. And also it shows us the migration of things like the South Atlantic and South African anomalies. We've been covering this for the last couple of months here as we watched the South Atlantic anomaly move into the South Pacific, somewhere down here, and then up toward the equator, somewhere up here, and then back to the South American continent, where it now once again resides. Also, the South African anomaly has moved up closer to the equator. It's now just below the equator in Central Africa. So very odd and interesting indeed. Huge migrations of the weakest points in Earth's magnetic field. So that's the vibrational frequency in megahertz. The anomalygram may be more clear to you, so I would also note this ongoing high-frequency ridge here. That is an ongoing high-frequency zone there, just south of the South Atlantic anomaly. You'll also see a rather ongoing low-frequency anomaly to the north of it. That's sort of normal considering the variations in the magnetic field. However, those motions of thousands of miles of the South Atlantic anomaly was certainly weird and calls into question how Earth's geomagnetic dynamo is generated in the first place. Remember, folks, if the data doesn't back up your hypothesis, you should probably abandon your hypothesis because it's probably incorrect. Although you could continue to hold on to stuff that makes no sense if you like, as many people on YouTube indeed do. They keep trying to move the goalposts and double down despite being wrong over and over and over again. They'll try to find ways to convince you that they're right. Here's the latest image. That's 1400 Universal Time. Anomalygram showing anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And there is the ionogram. So that's what's going on. We'll also look at the total electron content forecast to show you the most likely places on Earth for GPS errors. If you are unfamiliar with the distances to objects like the Van Allen belt and GPS satellites, feel free to pause the video on this frame. Here's the total electron content forecast. So we still do see this low electron content anomaly over the northeastern Caribbean right there, and also this low electron content anomaly over southern South America. Those have been persistently there even throughout the movement of the South Atlantic anomaly, which is always interesting. This is depicting the free electrons from about 12,500 miles of altitude down to your GPS handset. So you can expect major GPS errors over North America again here. And it's a lot more organized than it was a month ago. However, it's a little disorganized here. You can expect to see it get very disorganized in about 3 days when that coronal hole high-speed stream shows up. But at the moment, those are the most likely places to find GPS errors. Turn on your Wi-Fi location accuracy, perhaps to improve your navigational capabilities using your device. Don't forget to turn it back off again. And what the heck? There's a different image. All right, there's our latest SDO intensity gram. And that's not going to do us very much good, is it? Yowzers. What is up with that? All right, let's try this again. Let's try the flattened intensity gram. There we go. We are good to go with that. Anyway, here's your rock back. Again, we have seen some sunspot growth here, and we are expecting to see, oh, geez, that one looks like it's evaporated again, so that's interesting. That one came and went more quickly than it could be named, I suspect. These areas down here do not show any umbre yet. They look like plages. Anyway, that's the latest situation as far as SDO intensity gram plus magnetogram. High res. And let's take a pause here to cite the fact that you're watching the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And if you think that's a dig on CNN, it absolutely is. Because nobody trusts CNN. And I'm not fanatical about anything, folks, except for perhaps facts. The truth is out there. So help us to come through with the truth by clicking our links, like at smashomash.com, and welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Hit us up on social media. Permanent invite link to the Discord chat there. Right here, this little symbol there, that's the permanent invite link to the Discord chat. If you want to send me an instant message, that's the way to do it. Links to Hemp Lucid, the YouTube channel, the Smasho merch, the forum, and the Smash Team site all over the homepage. So visit it. Assist us with clicks. Again, also the Hemp Lucid link you can find there right on the home page. Don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Thanks to our YouTube viewership for tolerating the pathetic, disgusting, and putrid censorship on the platform. Yes, they're not deleting content. However, they are throttling views. Yes. Your channel might not be allowed to go viral because the algorithm will prevent it from being seen by people. Have you had trouble finding our content? Well, become a member of the Smash Team and sign up for email alerts. You will get emails about our major releases. We released an email about this video, so at smashomash.com/smashteam, we are pushing back against the pathetic, putrid, and disgusting censorship on platforms such as this. Because, hey, in 2019, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped a maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground where we survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find the content, maybe you can hire the Smash team. No, you certainly can. At smashomash.com, you'll find links. Next, look at this low pressure system here in between Greenland and Newfoundland. It's quite low there. 960 hectopascals, practically hurricane force. We've also got some, this is the mean sea level pressure, by the way. We've also got some lows down here in the Southern Ocean, but it's summertime down there. So the impact of a low that's that low with that cold of air around it is quite significant indeed. That's the mean sea level pressure environment around the planet. And let's take a look at surface winds. Like sands through the hourglass of time, these are the surface winds of your lives. These are the jet streams. That's the 250 hectopascal winds. Here are the jet streams of the Western world. Doubled up jet stream there over the U.S. You could even say tripled up jet stream over North America. And we've got, check it out, there's a massive high right here around the equator. That is a huge high pressure because we've got high pressure rotating clockwise here and rotating counterclockwise down here. So that's a very high pressure zone. Likely clear skies over the equator right there because of that upper level high. Surface winds depicted here. And it's a very windy day in the northern Atlantic. Surface winds of the central world are shown here, and these are the jet streams. Let's blast through the rest of the meteorology segment, as we've got to get this video onto your screen. Thanks to everybody that views the videos on Twitch and leaves comments, etc. Pardon our lateness. We're coming at you a little late today. This is what's going on over the Americas in terms of clouds and fog. Look at all the low clouds over the eastern seaboard. Dag! Low clouds galore. It's an overcast day over the western Atlantic. Next, your weather.gov map will scroll down to show you the key. If your location's lit, click your location on the map at weather.gov. Looks like some good surf around Hawaii and some fog in southern Texas. Some major wind chills here. It was 15 degrees. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/smashomash. And let's do some forecasts. We're going to see quite a significant low develop here as right off the coast of Florida. Also some heavy snow coming to California. That's pressure and precipitation for the next 72 hours based on the GFS model. Since some of that precipitation will be in the form of snow, let's see what the accumulation totals will be like. And heavy snows that are coming once again to large portions of eastern California. Pushing 2 feet there in some zones. Shout out to Smash Staff's mom, as she'll be getting some additional snowfall. That's a 72-hour positive accumulated snow depth change in inches. And we'll also show the temperature anomaly forecast because there's some very high temperatures here coming to Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois especially, where it'll be, 20 degrees Celsius above normal. So once again, that's your GFS 72-hour temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. The cold snap will end promptly here with some anomalously warm weather. Keep in mind, folks, in the Boston to D.C. corridor, the coldest time of year is January 15th through February 15th or so. And here's the current situation, and yeah, that is some cold. Look at that. That's the raw temperature, folks. 25 degrees below zero there in upstate New York. That's the temperature. That is not the wind chill. By the way, Mount Washington last night, follow us on Twitter for this as well, was showing 94 mile per hour sustained winds and a wind chill of over 100 degrees below zero. So new records were probably set. I'm not going to worry about it too much. That's the current situation as far as temperature goes across the U.S. And let's look at lightning. It's a little bit too cold for lightning. However, there are some lightning bolts at the moment, like in the eastern Mediterranean. That's our real-time lightning map. Next time you hear thunder, check it out. Maybe convince the natives that you're Zeus or Thor or something like that. Maybe portray a horror movie villain by forecasting thunder. You know, saying something scary, and then thunder rolls in right as you say it. That's the trick. That's the trick, folks. Become a horror movie villain, or perhaps Zeus, to amuse your friends and frighten your foes. Here's U.S. Doppler radar. We'll focus on the lower 48 states of AUSA, the allegedly United States of America. Has it been renamed AUSA yet? I'm just wondering. Here is clouds and fog. Again, check out the low clouds over the eastern seaboard there. No, they're not chemtrails. The resolution of this imagery is 1 kilometer. Planes don't produce 1 kilometer contrails, first of all. And here is water vapor. It looks like clear skies over Georgia, as there is a high-pressure dome there. In the southeastern U.S., also the Gulf, largely clear skies there, especially the eastern Gulf. Anyway, here's your recap. Vertical motion of water droplets from ground-based Doppler radar systems. Shortwave radiation in the infrared spectrum at 3.9 nanometers from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. And there is water vapor. You can see some evaporation happening there around places like Colorado. Why? Because there's so much hot air coming out of Colorado. Anyway, it's time to close this thing out. Thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in Nev.